Do you want to have lunch?
No, I'll have a cigarette.
Parisians are layabouts, alcoholics, chain smokers.
What was really bothering French people
Disagreeable and lecherous.
is just over the top.
All men are pick-up artists.
It's only based on stereotypes.
All Parisians have extramarital affairs.
Is that all you can do?
All shopkeepers are unpleasant.
French culture is more than that.
And all the French that make you want to wear a beret and carry a baguette under your arm.
That is
Just like so rude and insult someone's culture.
We've had Parisians lie down on a bridge to stop us shooting.
This is Darren Star, creator of Emily in Paris. And like his other massively popular shows, he didn't intend it to be offensive.
What most people don't know is that Darren used to live in Paris.
I've spent time in Paris since I was 19, just backpacking through Europe. I really fell in love with Paris, and I'd go back as often as I could.
He speaks French and he has like a vision of what he experienced.
I did move there for about a month at one point and just sort of imagine what it would be like to live in the city, not as a tourist, to have an apartment, to go through some of the struggles of being in Paris and not speaking French very well.
I am très excitée to be here.
Excité does not mean exciting. It means horny.
I've been thinking for many years about doing a show about an expatriate of an American who comes to Paris for a job. But a lot of it was picking up the attitudes of French people, having French friends, and finding the humor in the cultural differences.
From the show's conception, Star insisted that it be authentic to French culture.
That was always really important for me, to have a French cast.
And had a genuine commitment to getting the nuances right.
I was saying, okay, does this sound true? Does this sound right? So they were like real partners in that respect.
the real sounding board.
So, where did he go wrong?
French men are flirts.
Let's start with stereotypes.
Excuse me?
Like how the French are obsessed with sex.
Like American pussy.
For example, when Emily unknowingly sleeps with a teenager, the mother's response,
I don't care about any of that. I need to know, is my son a good lover?
and when they're not being depicted as horny or promiscuous,
What's the point of being married if you're just going to cheat on your spouse? I mean, the French are romantics, but they're also realists.
they're depicted as lazy,
I've been here since 8:30.
Pourquoi? We open at 10:30.
Don't do anything. It's illegal to work on weekend in France.
or mean,
Of course I love Paris, but the people, so mean. Nope.
or basically any stereotype imaginable.
Do you want to have lunch?
No, I'll have a cigarette.
And yet, the show was a massive hit.
Emily in Paris debuted in 192 countries and 30 languages simultaneously, which is mind-boggling.
And even those who were hate-watching
So a lot of my Parisian friends are watching it so they can tweet abuse about it.
were still continuing to watch
I'm sure there's a lot of people who say they hate it who are going to watch every episode.
and were a minority compared to the amount of fans.
I have to say that the French sometimes ask me, oh, can I have a selfie? It's for my mother, it's for my neighbor, it's for my dog, it's for my... And people from all around the world.
We avoid to hang out all together, especially when I'm with Bruno. He's tall, he's very recognizable, and that's when fans swarm around us.
The show even made fans out of France's president and first lady.
Bonjour, Madame Macron.
C'est d'accord.
Je suis Emily Cooper.
Émilie, c'est vous? Je la suis sur Instagram.
Oui, oui. Oh, yes. J'adore your country.
Brigitte's cameo in Emily in Paris. What did you think of that?
I was super proud. I mean, Emily in Paris is super positive in terms of attractiveness for the country.
38% of tourists referenced Emily in Paris as their reason for coming to France.
For my own business, it's a very good initiative.
So the show now is moving to Rome.
We will find hard and we will ask them to remain Emily in Paris.
Now, obviously, the president doesn't represent how all of France feels. So, how did Star offend so many while being an admirer of French culture?
I wanted to create as much of a fish out of water character as I could for a young person who comes to Paris, and also a very American character who doesn't have any proficiency in French and was really coming here almost accidentally.
The show is stereotypical, but according to Darren Star, it was written that way on purpose.
the show was very much from an American perspective.
Emily stands out as Emily herself.
A very strong-willed character, a bit of a millennial who maybe is a bit too overconfident in herself.
The idea was that we see Paris through the lens of an American who is, in fact, ignorant to French culture. And in defense of Darren, this extends to positive stereotypes of Paris as well.
If you grew up in LA, perspective. If you come from the valley and you go to Paris, everything is beautiful.
Oh my God.
You don't notice the garbage and you don't notice the little mini malls or the McDonald's. You just see the beautiful churches and the beautiful little streets, and you want to see that.
I myself have been to Paris, and like most cities, it has its parts you wouldn't be proud of.
But she should get mugged. That would be very Parisian. She needs to hold on to her phone.
The water in the Seine is not blue. It's not even green. It's this mushy brown, and it's filled with like radioactive waste.
But embellishing Paris's beauty doesn't negate the show's insulting stereotypes.
There's no reality in the settings, the costumes, and blah, blah, blah. So, especially in France, people were like so offended. It was crazy. And I had to tell them, you guys don't have any sense of humor. So they hated me even more. Darren writes a sort of a fairy tale that has nothing to do with reality, yet there's truth to it in the sense that what the characters go through is real.
The people in Paris that complained about it is just, it's always hard to see the truth, you know? It's denial.
But they didn't realize that Darren was also making fun of the Americans through Emily in a way that was so obvious for me. But I guess the French were offended because they didn't see Paris the way Darren and through Emily's eyes was seeing it.
My name sounds like an airline. Emily Couper, fly me.
Let's break this down. The show's intention wasn't to offend. It was meant to be self-deprecating and fanciful and depict the view of the world through an intentionally flawed and fictional protagonist. But here's the problem with that. It doesn't do that.
Truly, thank you guys for putting up with me.
The character of Emily is conceited, not funny, and unlikable in many ways.
Maybe you suggest you cook it longer? I'll take yours.
No. Come on. The customer is always right.
She expects France to adapt to her, not the other way around.
Je vous attendais pas avant demain?
And the show itself doesn't indicate to the viewer any awareness of her flaws.
They disagree with everything I say. That's the French way. They're very disagreeable.
It treats her as a likable protagonist. And when it depicts the offensive stereotypes, it doesn't do it through her point of view, it depicts them literally. The French characters are actually saying things like,
"So I can make love to you again."
You sure you don't want to use my shower?
I don't want to wash you off yet.
And so the Parisian reaction to the show...
The French people here asking, is that really how Americans see us?
There's no really creativity.
There are plenty of stereotypes that are completely off mark.
That is very mean.
And that wouldn't happen. We're not that mean.
They were like, this is not us.
Was she eating a whole camembert for lunch?
I thought, that's it, I can't watch anymore, it's too absurd.
Was the reaction justified? I mean, I can definitely understand it, and I don't know if Star's perspective is exactly going to appease Parisians.
We had so many great reviews at the beginning in the American press, and then there were so many horrible reviews in the French press. At some point, you just say, I give up, because it doesn't mean anything.
I think it does mean something, but I think it's up to the audience to determine what that is.
It's a mistake to think about what's an audience going to like.
Viewers vote with their eyeballs, and being greenlit now for 6 seasons shows that commercial success doesn't always reflect critical acclaim or accuracy. So why do people watch Emily in Paris? Well, one opinion, attractive young people, fashion, and TV you can leave on and half watch while doing other things. I asked my wife, who's a fan of the show, and her response, it's just a silly show that's not meant to be a reflection of reality. It's meant to be an escape from reality. Plus, fashion lovers watch for the outfits. Now, given it was released in 2020, the escape the show gave people especially with the added fantasy of exotic traveling. I get it. Even if it was at the expense of offending a lot of people. I'm Adam, this is ScreenPuff, and I'd love to hear your opinion down in the comments. This was my first stab at something a bit more controversial, and I'm by no means immune to getting things wrong, so let me know if I did, and as always, thanks for watching.